Welcome back to Learning Partner. So in this video, we are going to complete a to-do list app, but just a twist is there that we are going to complete this with the API. Normally, whenever we say to-do list or the task list, we try to do the same thing with local storage or the session storage. But I have created a APIs for the same. So with that API, we are going to do that. So and the project will be with the Angular 17. So what are the new things we have that we will try to cover? Coming back to API. So in free API Jirasin.in, in to-do controller, you will get to see all the APIs. Just 5 APIs are there. Basic, only one table is there. So obviously 5 APIs are there. Basic CRUD API and the extra API is for the filter, server-side filter. Again, UI, this is the UI I'm going to use, and the repository is this, right? So let's get started. So for now, I have to create a project. So this is my Angular 17 folder where I keep all the projects. So I'm opening command prompt. Now in Angular 17, we have to create the project. So again, command is same, ng new, let's say project name. Let's give the project name, whatever we have over here. The same repository name, project name I'm giving, enter. So first it will ask like which CSS framework you need. So we are simply going with CSS. Then it will ask like, do you need a server-side rendering or no? So obviously it's just a simple to-do app. So I will say no and press enter. So it has created the basic Angular 17 project, and plus now it is installing the NPM. Once the installation is done, let me just open the new Visual Studio Code and I will open that particular folder. So file, open folder, and local XD, YouTube, and inside that Angular 17 to-do app with API. This is the project folder I have to open. Select folder. Why it is not there? Wait, where I have created the API then? Yeah, it is there. Let me just open the proper folder again. Open folder. Yeah. Okay. So project is open. After this, the node model folder, I'm using shortcut. I have already a copy created in my folder, Angular 17 of the node model. So in every project, I don't create the node model copy. Okay. I just create the shortcut. I have created already a video where you can do the same. Like you can create one copy of node module in all the project. You can use the same. So you don't have to again install and install again install the same node module copy. Now in that also again, I have already installed the Bootstrap and the what do we say icon font awesome. So that once you if you don't have this, please install the Bootstrap and the font awesome. After that, you just need to link both of the CSS thing in the angular.json in style section over here. Okay, so make sure you install Bootstrap and font awesome. Now after that, in src folder, now it's just a single page application, right? We don't have anything. It's a single page, so only one component is needed. So I will be using app component to carry out the whole thing. So in app component, this is the existing code. Let's remove that. Let's first run the project. Terminal ngs. So ngs or ngsor is the command to run your Angular project. Now, so I have created that HTML already, right? So whatever the HTML you are seeing, version 2 file. So that code is I have over with me over here. So let me just get that code. Let's copy. Let's paste it in the app.component.html. Let's save. Let's try to open the project now. So localhost 4200. Okay, so same structure we have. We are able to see whatever the thing you have seen over here. Same structure is available over here also. I think one CSS we need. Okay, let's copy this and let's paste it into our CSS file. Now let's close this. We don't need it now. So what I have done, like whatever the HTML, you can find the HTML in my GitHub repo for YouTube project template. All the templates or all the UI which I use in my YouTube projects are already over there. So you can use it. So at least you don't have to work on the UI. You can just focus on the Angular part. So this is just the static page. Okay. Now let me show you. Okay, so now if we see the API, so here you can see get all task list is the API, which will get us all the list of the tasks which we have created. Either you can call it as a task or a to-do item, anything, correct? Then filter task list, this is for the filtering, server-side filtering we will do. Then create new task to create the new task or new item, update task and the delete task. So only 5 APIs there. With this 5 API, we are going to complete our application. Now, so first we will start on the get all list. So get all list is the API call which will get us all the data we have in the current table. So while testing, I have created one record. So you can see we have one over here. So this is the API. Okay. Now this API we have to call in our Angular app. So now in Angular 17, by default, all the components are by default standalone. In Angular 17, we don't get app module, correct? So there are two things when you want to make the API call, either in appconfig.ts in the provider section, here you can write provide HTTP client. Either this you can use. You remember like with the previous version, we used to add HTTP client module, but that got replaced by provide HTTP client over here. Either you can use this and then you can create a in constructor, you can create the API call. Now I'm creating just a service. So let's create a service folder. And here I will create a service. So that API call, we will put it in the service. I know it's a small application, but when we talk about API call integration, so it is going to take time. So this will be, let's name it as a master service. So ng generate service and master. Master is the name of the service we are creating. So here you can see we have created the service. Now in service, we have to use private HTTP client. Okay, so HTTP client service object we have created. Now here first let's now what are the API we are going to use in every API up till this is going to be constant. Up to JWT, I forgot to rename the controller name. So up till JWT is going to be constant. So this we will put in a separate variable. Let's say API URL data type will be string equal to, okay. After that, we just have to append the method name. So now first API call we will write get all task list function. Now this function, what we are going to do from this function, we are going to make the API call. Whatever the data we are going to get, that we are going to return. So we have to write return this dot HTTP dot get API call is there. So we have to pass the get API call. So API URL first here it will be there. After that, we have to append the last method name. So then this dot get API URL, then our method name is get all task list. So this will go over here. So that will form our complete URL. So now if you see, if you just hover on the function name, see it is returning data type of observable. Now we know like this is the data or this is the model we are going to deal with. So let's create an interface for this. So again in app folder, I'm creating a model folder, and there I will create a task.ts, and in this ts file I'm going to create an interface. So export, instead of creating any, I will just create an interface. Interface, what is it? Task curly bracket, and whatever the things we know that we have to create. Item ID, let me just copy and paste it over here. Item colon data type will be number. Then task name, that is going to be of data type string. Like this, we have to just create everything. Let me just copy paste now. Just I'm copy pasting, then I will change the data type, right? So description date will be date, created on will be again date, is completed is boolean, and tags will be string, and completed on is again date. So what we have done, whatever the properties we were getting from the API call, we have created an interface for that. Now this interface, we will use it to provide the data type. So this function is going to return a data type of that observable. So now if you see one more small catch is there, all my APIs are going to return a data type of this model. So message, result, and data. So let's create a interface for this. So here, export. If you are not comfortable with creating all this, you can simply go ahead with any also. But if you know how you create the interface and everything, so you should create interface or class API response model. Now, though I'm just getting the three things: message, result, string, and data. Data is the dynamic type, so I'm keeping it as any. Now this, for all the API call, what if the response I'm getting from all the API is going to be that model. So observable data type, this, like this. And we need to add the import of that. Once you do that, now after get also we need to provide the data type. So this only response type will go over here. So this is what your API call should look like. Okay. Now this is the traditional approach. By this we call as the dependency injection. This is the traditional approach, whatever you might have seen in the previous Angular version. But in Angular 17 or from 16 also, I think we have got that. So from Angular 16, we have got another way, that is we can create a service, means dependency service instance variable in another way. So in app component, rather than using constructor, I will use inject now. So at the rate inject, and here the data, which master service we are trying to create. So master service, we need to add the import also. Master service, let's say master. What is wrong over here? Unable to resolve signature. Hmm. No, wait, let me search. I also forgot how do we do that. At the rate inject in Angular 17. Let's find it. So I'm not skipping the part so that you also will face, you are also going to face the same error. So you should be aware. So at the rate inject. Why it is not available? Inject, then provider and data type. Same thing we have done now. Taking reference from the Angular side is also a pain. They won't clearly explain how to use it. Stack Overflow will help us. Okay, sorry, we have to create a variable and in that we are going to store that. Sorry, I completely forgot that. So now here we have to create the variable and in that variable we are going to store the service object. So let's say master service is equal to at the rate inject or simply inject. Let's try what works. And what we are trying to inject is the master service. So let's copy this and let's paste it over here, right? So this is nothing but equivalent to what we used to do like this. So private master service. So this is nothing but equivalent to this, but this looks like we are not using the dependency injection framework, so we are using the injection by which the same thing. Okay, so this is the old way and this is the new way. Okay, so let's get rid of this now. So we have created a master service and in that master service, we have created one API call. Now in app component on the page load, we need to call that service function. So again, we have to make use of the on init hooks, right? So after that, we have to implement it on init. Once you do that, it will ask us to create the ng on init, right? Let's create a function again, load all task. Now in this function, we are simply going to call the API call, which we have created in the master service. So this dot master service dot. Only one function is there, that is get all task list, and it is going to return the data type of observable. So we can subscribe to it. So subscribe again. Now here we have to provide the data type, like what type of response I'm going to get. We have created interface like iTask. So this we will use it over here. We need to add the import. Sorry, the response type. I forgot the API response. We are going to get this. Okay, so here you need to provide this. Let's add this also. Now, whatever the data we are going to get from this API, that we need to store into a variable. So let's create a task list variable, colon. Now data type here we have to use it iTask. That is going to be array. So like this. And the API call response we have to store into this variable. So this dot task list is equal to res dot data. So this is how we have to do it. So on the page load, we have to call this function also. So in ng on init, we are triggering this function, executing this function. We just format it. So now what will happen once the page load, ng on it will get triggered. In ng on it, we are triggering this function. So this function will make the API call, whatever the data we get, that we will store into this variable. Let's copy this. And now in HTML, we already had that table where we were showing the data. So now this is the tr. So let me just remove the static one. Now we just have to iterate it. Okay. Now in Angular 17, the old way, like if we have to iterate the data, we used to use the ng for directive, right? But now if we have to use the ng for directive now, let me just show you. Let's write star ng for let item of our array variable name, that is task. So it will show the error that it doesn't understand it. You can see it is saying like import the common module. So if we have to use any directive, let's say it is a ng class, ng for ng style also. So in your component, in your import section, you have to import common module. Okay, this is the one way to do it. You have to import, if you have to use ng for ng, any directive if you have to use, you need to import that in that particular component. Then you can use it. See, now error is gone. But we have another way, just the normal for loop. Okay, we can use in the HTML also. So now we don't need this common module to be imported. And in the HTML, we can use, instead of writing like this, I will use @for loop. Okay, so this is the new way which we have to follow. So now the advantage is like you are not importing that common module, because without importing anything, you can simply use this for loop. So that this is better, correct? Now inside the for loop, we have to keep our tr. Whatever the element you want to iterate, that should go into the tr like this. Now instead of item, we have to provide our array name, that is task list. So this will go over here. And track by $index we can use, or in that we have one property, right? So property will be unique, something we have to provide. So that will be item ID we can provide over here. Does not exist on type. I thought we have to provide like this. Yeah. So whatever the unique thing you have in the object now, that you need to provide it over here. Now let's do the interpolation also. So if we see the UI, so this is like index. So after that, let's get the index. Let sr is equal to index. We are going to need, or $index is there. How do we get the index? So in normal ng for we used to have that. Let's see, @for loop, track by. Let's try to directly use $index. I think it will work. Let's just save and check if we are able to get the 0 in the first location. Sorry, over here. Okay, wait, I'm getting course error. Let me check on which port I need to run the API. Okay, so that particular API was having course issue and we need to run on the particular port that is 3005. But once again, I will deploy it and I will open it on the 4200 also. So once you use it now, you can access the API on the 4200 also. Okay, so for now, I'm running the application on this particular port. So now if we refresh, you can see in the network call, we have one API and whatever only one record was there. So index we wanted to test. So see 0 is coming, but we don't show the 0. So let's make increment it by 1. So in ngFor, what we used to do, let something variable is equal to index, we used to get that. But in for loop, you can directly access by using $index, serial number, index number, you can directly access. Now here, let's show the task name. So that will be item dot the task name. Then created on or due date, we can show it over here. So item dot due date. Now due date will have everything, but let's save and check for now. So here you can see date is coming everything like day, time zone, but we have to show the properly date. So now I have to use the date pipe. So let's use date pipe with data type like dd hyphen mmm hyphen yy. But now for date pipe, you can see we are getting error. So again, we have to use date pipe also. So like that, date pipe. Okay. So if you have to use the any pipe, you need to import that. So now if I import, now you can see error is gone and date pipe will execute properly. Why it is not running? Hmm. So now still date pipe is not there. Why? Let's save and try. Yeah, now it is properly. So you can see I have added the format like dd, mmm 3 times means it will show the month name and the yy 2 times. If we say yy 4 times, it will show the complete year. So currently it was showing just 24, but now if we save, it will show 2024. See, like this. Then health or tags also we need to show. Are we getting tags? Let me just check the API response. Yeah, tags we are getting, but directly. Okay. Now, so first thing is done. We have successfully integrated the get API call on the page load. We have called that API and whatever the data we get that we have displayed into the table. Now, next thing is we have to create the form. So if we have to check the create new task API and what the object it need. So here you can see this is the primary key. We don't need to send it. Task name, task description, due date, created or again we don't need to say send it. We can just pass the default date, new date. Is completed by default, we will send it false. Tags and completion date also we are not going to send now. But for now, task name, description, due date, only these three things we need to show and the tags. So as per UI, we have task name. It will be like task description. Let's create another text box for task name. So in the app component, let's create one more row. Let's make it 6 and it will be a normal text box for the task name. It will be text task name. Let's save and check if we are getting the text box. Yes. So here we will bind the task name. This will be task description. Task description. Then due date and the tags C and art task. So now our form is complete. Now what we need to do? We have to create the object. So we have already created the interface. Remember here we have already created. So now in app component, we have to create the task. So task object colon again data type will be only iTask, but this is an interface. So normally when we have to create the object or when we have to bind the data to the object, which we are going to send again along with the form. So for that now always try to create the interface. So I'm just copy pasting it instead of class interface, I'm going to create a class, and in class we have to use the constructor and we have to initialize all the properties. So that I wanted to cover like how do we create the interface and how do we create the class. But make sure when we create the class, initialize all the properties, or you can make it optional also like this, adding an optional symbol. This is also you can do, but make sure you initialize all the property. So like item ID, we will initialize to 0. Then task name, whatever the string is, we will initialize with empty. This dot completed on is equal to new date. By default date we are sending. This dot created on again new date, by default date is completed, by default false value we will send it. Tags again empty, and task name the last thing. That's it. Due date again remaining, this dot due date again new date I'm initializing just for now because it has a data type date. Okay, so this is how we create the class. We create all the properties, and we in the constructor we initialize whatever the with the default value we need to initialize those properties. Now this I will use it over here as a data type. We need to add the import, and we have, since this is a class, so we have to create the instance like this, new task like this. Okay, now this I can bind to my form. So how do we bind the element to the form? By using ng model directive. So square bracket, round bracket, ng model, and we have to use object and our property name. This is task name, but here it will show the error like ng model is not, it won't recognize. Okay, so in previous version what we used to do in app module, we used to add in forms module, but now we don't have the app module. So over here only in the import section you need to add the forms module like this. Then you can use the ng model. Let's just copy, paste it over here and over here. Just property name we have to change. This will be tags, this will be due date, this will be description. That's it. Now on the button click, we have to call another API. So first in the master service, we will create another service, add new task, round bracket. Now this function will have the object. So obj, what type of object? Again, data type everywhere, wherever you create the parameter or the variable, you need to provide the data type. So data type is nothing but this class which we have created, task. So this will go over here. Let's add the import. Now here, again, we have to use the return this dot http dot post API call. Whenever we say post API call, we have to send two parameters. You can see first is the URL and second is the body. So URL will be like this dot API URL plus what is the API and method name? Let's check it. Create new task. So this will go over here. Okay. This is like first URL, then comma. Why it is giving error? Object. So obj we need to send. Okay, but as we have done for like this over here, same thing we have to repeat it over here also, and after post also we need to do the same thing. So this is how you should properly write the API call. Doesn't matter you are working in your project or you are appearing for the interview, make sure you cover everything like this, because if you write the code like this now, it will make more impact on the interviewer, right? So in service we have already created a API call function. Now in the component, on button click, we have to call that. On add task, we need to call our function. So click add task. Let's create this function in our component. So this dot master service dot add new task. And for this add new task, we need to pass the object. So that will be task object. Then again dot subscribe round bracket result colon API response model. This is subscribe call. And if we face any error while fetching the API call, then again, we need to have error callback also. Like this. Here we can show simply like API call errors or something. Okay. And here, again, I told you like all my API call will send the response like this three field. And result is the field which you need to check for the API call success or not. So here we will have to write if result dot result. If we have got it true, then we will say alert, and we will say like task created success. And once task is created successfully, we need to call the another latest task also. So this function we can call it after alert. So once task is created, again one API call will be there to date the latest task. Okay. So let's just paste it now. Let's save all. Sorry, one more thing. Once you have done the API call, again you need to reinitialize this object also. So here this dot task object, the object you need to reinitialize. So by that is a object of class. So we can initialize it again by creating the constructor instance. Okay. So let's save and check it everything. Let's open the console so that we can see the network call. Okay. So let's check. I have meeting at 3 p.m. or interview call. Let's call at 3 p.m. And let's add a description. Infosys level 1 interview something, any description we need to add. Okay, let's due date. Let's it is on the 5th of April, and let's say just interview tag I'm adding. Okay, on click of add task, we should be able to make one API call. So once we click on add task, one API call entry will be there. So you can see one API call entry is there, and the let's say the object. So payload, you can see tag name, task registration, and whatever the default thing, date and everything, we have done it. Just do date, whatever we have selected, it is going. So once we click on OK, another API call will be there, get all task date, and we get the latest task, and you can see that is visible in the table, right? So we are done with the two things. First, like getting all the task list and creating new task. Then we have to do the update thing. So for update, let's add a button over here in the table itself. So in the table, let's remove the tag name for now. And I will use a button which will be edit over here. And now on click of edit, what I need to do I don't have any another API for which I can send the task ID and I will get a particular record. But in the table only or in the array only, I have got everything. Whatever the task object properties are there, I'm getting everything in the array itself. So I will use that. So here click event on edit, and I will send the whole record, that is item over here. Let's create this function. Now, while we are calling it, we are passing the data. So item data type will be iTask only, task data only. So now this we have to hold it on task object. So whatever the data, whatever the record we click, that data we have to store in the task object. So item. Okay. So let's save and check. So once we click on the edit, that record should get populated over here. Let's see if I click on the edit, you can see string is coming. If we click on edit, see just date is not coming. So let's format the date. So like this is an input type date. So to format it or to get it auto selected, we need to convert that date into proper this format, DDMMYY. So let's create that. So once we do that edit, let's create constant, or let me just get the proper format. I have already done it somewhere. Let me just get that. Okay, so I have got that code. I will just paste it over here. So what I'm going to do, whatever the date I'm going to get in set timeout, I'm just writing that code. I will explain why. Okay, so dot due date we have to use. Okay, So first, what we are doing, we are converting the data, whatever we get, the due date we get into a new date. Then from that date, we are getting the date, then month and the year. Then we are assigning that to our text box. So this ID we have to get txt date. This ID we will add to our text box. So it is this ID is equal to this. So it will show us the error like it is null or something. Let's see how we can handle that. The object is possibly null. Let's add question mark over here. Yeah. I got it. Let's try to get the data. Date field is equal to. So whatever the thing we have written it over here, we will just move it over here and then we will add a null check. If date field is not null, whenever we read the element by using document.getElementById in Angular, we have to add a null check like this. Now it will work. But still why it is giving error? Identifier expected. What is the identifier? Identifier expected. What is the identifier expected over here? We have selected date dot value. Let's try to use the value directly. Value does not exist on type HTML element. That's why we're trying to do like this. Is it giving error? Let's check. It is saying failed. So with previous Angular version, this was working fine. So it is saying like value cannot be added to the index type element. How we can handle this now? Is there any suggestion? Inline variable. This doesn't work. Element has a display injection. Value cannot be added to the HTML element. Just try to find the solution for this on Google. On the JavaScript in Angular, we need it. Angular. Someone might have faced this issue. So after searching, I have got the solution. So he has said like we can select the element like this and we have to explicitly set the value. Another way to do this is like by using a element rep or renderer too, but I want to avoid that because most of the fresher doesn't know what is a renderer and what is element rep. So this is way how we can do that. So now if we see, I have written it like this. So now we are able to set the data. Timeout is 1 second, let's say. So now if we click on the second record that is having 5 April as date, let's click on edit. So after 1 second, you can see date is getting selected. Okay. So first part is done, that on click of edit, we are able to show the record in the form. Now, instead of add task, now we are in the edit mode. So we should say the update button. So that also we can decide by using this object and the task ID button. Let me just copy this button one more time. Instead of success color, let's use warning. Now the condition will be when it is a new task. When we are creating a new task, task ID will be 0. So now instead of ng if, we have one more way, that is at the rate if, and the condition task object dot task item ID equal to 0. Again, if we have to use the ngif, now we have to import the common module. This I will put it over here and at the else block. In else, we will use the update button. So this will be update instead of add task, update task. Let's create this function. So this is the new thing we have got, if and else condition. Just like the normal for loop, we can write the if else condition over here. If you know the React, this is the same syntax, kind of same syntax we used to do in React. Just like that, we have got it over here. Let's just save and check if that hide and show is working fine. So as this is a new record, we are going to get the add task button. But now if I click on edit, see update button is visible over here. Now in update, let's create the API call, because for update we have one more API call. So now I'm just going to copy paste, because and earlier I have explained. So now this will be update task. Now instead of post, if we see the API, it should be put. See, for the update, we have the put API. So instead of post, it will be put API. Just the method name will change. So method name, update task. Let's copy. So this will go over here and remaining thing will be same. Just like that, let me create the delete also so that we won't test delete task. Delete task has the method as delete. See, and the API method name that will be delete task. This will go over here. For delete, we don't need to pass the object. Instead of put, it will be delete. Just ID we have to send. This will be number and delete task colon ID, or what is the parameter name? Item ID. So item ID equal to, then we need to bind our ID, whatever ID we got. So this will be your delete task function and this will be your update. So let's integrate the update. On update function, we have to call that another API. So this dot master service dot update task, and we have to send the same object, that is task object. Same code what we have written it over here, the subscribe thing, same thing we can write. Just copy and paste it. Just message will be task updated success. And again, we will call the load or get all task because we need to show the updated task. Let's save and check. Okay, now let's say first record string 22, I'm trying to update string 22 instead of, let's say shop new headset. This is the task I want to do. Some information, due date, let's say by this week, and let's click on update. So task update is success. And after that, get all task is also there. So new task name you can see, and the with the date also, right? Now next thing is delete. So let's go over here, and in the table we will add one more button to delete it. So warning, let's make it danger on delete. We need to send the ID only. We don't need to send the complete object, because for delete API, we just need to send the item ID. Delete. Let's create this function. For this function, we are just sending the ID. Over here, delete. And we are going to get the ID with data type number. And here we are going to make the API call, this dot master service dot delete task. And for delete task, we just need to send the ID. So this ID we will send it. Remaining again, same code will be there. Okay, just task deleted success will be message will be there. We don't need to reinitialize the object over here. Just here, one additional check we have to add. Once we click on the delete, directly API call will be there. But again, we need to confirm the use from the user. Are you sure want to delete? So that thing we can do. Let's create a variable. Const is confirm. We can use confirm box. Confirm, and we can pass the message. Are you sure want to delete like this. And here we will add a check if is confirm is true. In confirm box, we get two buttons, OK and the cancel. If we click on the OK, we will get true. Otherwise, we will get false. If it is OK, then only we will make our API call. Otherwise, we won't. Let's save. So now if we try to delete this, just pay attention on the network tab. If we click on the delete and if we click on the cancel, see no API call is there. But if we click on the delete and if we click on the OK, now you can see ID is equal to 1. We have API call is there. If we click on OK, again that task got removed. So the whole operation, what we used to do over there, that we have completed by using API. So normally Todo app will be normally with the local storage, but I just wanted to cover the same thing with Angular 17 rather than doing with local storage, because in the previous, some of the previous videos, I have done the same thing with local storage, but this I wanted to do it with the API. So that's it. I wanted to cover some extra part, but I will create one more video just for the advanced part. So in this video, we have just covered the basic part. This filtering thing and everything we will cover in the next part. So that's it. If you are new to the channel, please do like and subscribe.